stuff that I checked out. So we're gonna be looking at some capcom stuff first, because most of today's news from what I see is mostly revolving Dragon's Dogma and their microtransactions. So we're definitely gonna be looking into that. um, but yeah, Resident Evil 9 possibly going open world, it's claimed. According to a new tweet from what's the leaker Des Gollum, Resident Evil 9 could potentially build on the RE engine and go open world. Resident Evil 9 has reportedly been in works for years, and many speculate it will launch in 2025. The most recent core game is Resident Evil Village, which launched in 2001. I still need to beat the DLC for that one, with Rose. Dust Golem, posting as user at Aesthetic Gamer 1, also claims that Monster Hunter Wilds is building on the same tech. However, they do reassure fans that both Resident Evil 9 and Monster Hunter Wilds should still retain the series DNA of either franchise. Let's look take on. Let's look at the actual tweets. So here's a little tidbit I'll share. Captain often will greenlit new initiatives in threes closer together. Recent examples are RE7, RE2, MDNC5, were all greenlit fairly close together to take advantage of the new RE engine and the idea to remake RE2 inspired them to also take on RE3 and RE4 remake for a remake initiative. With Dragon's Dogma 2 expanded RE engine functionality for open world games. The two other games building on this tech is Monster Hunter Wilds and Resident Evil 9. The only thing I'll additionally add before going silent and not reading Twitter again for now is part of all three project goals has been to retain the series DNA. Dragon's Dogma 2 is still clearly Dragon's Dogma, Wild is still clearly Monster Hunter, and same would be true for Resident Evil 9. This guy, but interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about open world Resident Evil. Last October, Dust Golem took to Discord to tease a variety of details about Resident Evil 9. They suggested that Resident Evil 9 would boast the largest budget yet in the series. I can only imagine. Let me refresh here. Maybe they show a tweet. Oh, just loading something. Oh man, I didn't see this. This would line up with the game's development taking so much longer than expected. Using a brand new engine for open world gameplay would also take a bit longer for the series to deliver. Dust Golem says that Dragon Ball 2 expanded. Oh yeah, I'm just. Okay. Yeah, they issue apology about the DLC. Okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna read all of this. This is just reiterating the negative news for Capcom's Dragon Dogma 2 game. Okay. Let's look at this. Resident Evil 9 has biggest budget of the series, it's claimed. Let's see what Dust Golem revealed that Resident Evil 9 is costing content pretty penny, and that's because it's the most sizable game in the series ever. So it's been in development since 2018. It's probably not going to be released until 2025, so there's still a little bit to wait. It won't be a direct sequel to Resident Evil 8, but all new game that will bring to an end But an all-new game that will still bring to an end the current split, ushering a new generation of Resident Evil. In recent leaks, it was suggested that Resident Evil 9 would take place in a ghost town in the west, and like Village, it featured mythical creatures. Ooh. I'm not exactly sure how I completely feel about Resident Evil 9, Resident Evil in general being open world, because Resident Evil is a survival horror game, and in survival horror games, personally for me, what makes a survival horror game is the close-knit spaces that you have to be in to like feel like the horror and feel like you're trying to escape from the enemies in the game. And when I hear open world, I think of freedom, the freedom to do whatever you want in like the game and choose whatever you want to do. And I feel like for like survival horror games or horror games in general, the players shouldn't feel free in these games, like at all. Personally, it's personally what I believe. And I can't really imagine how this would work for like a Resident Evil game. I'm hoping that they're not doing something. They're not falling into like the trap of what happened after RE4, the original RE4, where like Capcom just trying to do like action up until they got into RE6, which was considered like the worst one out of the series. And I hope that they're not getting too big with their britches. But the past few Resident Evil games have been really good. Even especially the ones that hasn't been a remake. But I hope it's just not open world. And what I've seen, because it's definitely possible for them to like do an open world game. Because I'm hearing like good reviews about Dragon's Dogma, and not about the microtransactions, but like about like how expensive the open world is, and it seems like really good with the RE engine. And I know that WoW is supposed to be open world as well. It's just I'm not sure how I feel about an open world Resident Evil. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know what you guys think. Is this something you guys will want? Do you think that it's even possible? Like, how will this even work? Because I can't even wrap my head around this. But that's interesting to know to like how Capcom, releases their games. Because they did release RE7, Devil May Cry 5, and Remake 2, RE Remake 2, around like the same time. So that makes sense. Because they've kind of been releasing games apparently. And also good to hear that they're finally the remakes, like they're finally catching up and everything, and then finally putting everything together, which should be nice. So I'm hoping to see some of the older characters in RE9, because I know RE8 or RE Village was supposed to be the last one for Ethan, so I feel like it was kind of like a what you call it. It was kind of like a filler arc for Resident Evil from off like the main cast. And what else? And honestly, now that I think about it, I feel like that has been their goal this entire time with Resident Evil. Ever since they started with RE7, because they started with like a mansion or like a bayou mansion, and then they went a little bit bigger with Village as well. Um, and now they're doing a whole open world thing. And I think the closest thing to that would be to Resident Evil 4. I don't know, closest thing to open world. I mean, Resident Evil 4 is not really like open world, but it is. There's like a lot of like locations and locales that you go to with that place. It's just the word open world. When I think about it, it's just like like a big map filled with like horror stuff. Actually, there was a survival horror game that, yeah, The Evil Within 2 is a Shinji Mikami game. I don't know if you worked in that one, specifically, but I, I know, I know that one was sort of open world, and it was survival horror. So maybe it could work, and just, yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe it could work. The Evil Within 2 was more open world than its predecessor, the first one. Because you would just, you do like, linear stuff, and then you, yeah, maybe that's what it work. It's just, it's like a hub world, open world that you just go around to do stuff in, and then you go to certain locations to do like story missions or stuff like that. But I don't know how I feel about that, because, I mean, I wasn't that much of a fan of The Evil Within. But, Capcom, they are veterans in the survival horror genre. I mean, they're basically the the fathers of the genre. So maybe they did work something out. But I mean, regardless, I'm a huge Resident Evil fan, so I definitely love to see what they got working on with it. Hopefully, you hear something soon from Resident Evil 9. Um, so that ends that